Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augmented Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I am your host as usual, and obviously welcome back to the show. Today's episode 123 of the show, and before we get started, we're going to do a bit of house cleaning real quick, because you know we guys always like to do this around here. Like, we always like to do house cleaning, and it's only fair that we do it, because we only did one episode, which even then, like, I'm just being honest, we always love doing house cleaning, so there's not really an excuse to do it, or an excuse not to do it. That's actually the better term to use. But aside from that, on to house cleaning, because I don't want to stay too long rambling on this because the news is actually pretty important today. So I want to thank you guys for coming back and listening. It really means a lot to me that you guys constantly keep back. You keep coming back. You keep downloading the episodes. You keep sharing them. You're constantly interacting with me in the comment sections of the videos or on my social media handles, that you guys reach out. You talk to me how you felt about the episodes, and it really does mean a lot to me. Obviously, for everyone that's listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen to your podcast, thank you guys for continuing to download the show. You guys almost have the show at 1,700 total downloads, so I really appreciate that. So hopefully we can get close to 1,700, and maybe by the end of the year we can get to 2,000, which that actually would be really cool. I'm just being honest, that's actually pretty cool. I want to thank the YouTube followers, because you guys are great. You guys love watching the videos. Granted, you guys were already watching or primarily listening to the show on YouTube, but now you actually get to watch my facial reactions and things like that, and how I express myself. And, you guys are having a fun time in the comment section. So keep up the great work, and I hope you guys continue to love the videos. I also want to say thank you to my Patreon backers for continuing to be awesome, because you guys are awesome. I don't see any reason why not to say thank you to you guys, because you guys continue to be great. But aside from that, now that we have house cleaning out of the way, it's time to start talking about the news, because this is definitely, to me, it's very, I would say, annoying, but I also understand why it happened. And I'm specifically talking about Halo Infinite getting delayed, because yes, this is obviously very, very big, not gonna lie. And a lot of people were very shocked that this happened, but a lot of people weren't surprised that it happened. If you guys remember a while back, we did an episode talking about the Xbox July event, which I'll put an episode up here so you guys can know where to go see it. But in that episode, we talked about how Halo Infinite, yes, it was shown off, but it definitely did not look the best. There was definitely some rough patches. I thought the gameplay was solid, but I thought the visuals were definitely lacking. And this is very concerning, because a lot of people were not too happy. They definitely grilled Microsoft and 343 for this decision, because the game just didn't seem like it was in a good, healthy place in terms of visuals, like a couple of months before launch, which we've officially learned that the Xbox Series X will come in November. So that's a bit jarring, like, to go from July to November, and this was supposed to be the launch game. And 343 decided, look, we need more time, like, because of the whole COVID situation, because of development issues, we need more time to fully articulate, what we want to have, like our vision. They want to fully articulate their vision and what they have for the game. So that's why the game got delayed. Granted, yes, I know a lot of people are upset because they don't see the delay because of COVID as a solid reason, because people are like, well, this game has been in development for this many years and things like that. And I think a lot of people need to understand that the game was already done. Like, put it like this. When this game, yes, it has been in development for multiple years, but just because the game is, say, running, doesn't mean they fully have everything up and running. Like, put it like this. They may have the game running in terms of a gameplay standpoint, but if the visuals and things like that aren't up to par, it makes sense why they were probably working on it, and the whole COVID situation didn't make things any better. And this isn't me being a Microsoft apologist, because I'm really not. Like, that's just not who I am. Like, I have no reason to defend a $1 trillion company, because I have nothing to gain out of defending Microsoft. But it definitely is a bit of an issue, because this is supposed to be the launch game of the next generation Xbox. And now there is no game for it. And this is very concerning, because a lot of people were wanting to buy the Xbox day one because of Halo. And this is very concerning, because now it's like, okay, what's the point of getting the Series X at launch now? Because now that Halo Infinite is delayed, what's the point of getting it? And yes, I get a lot of people say, well, if you think about it, in the grand scheme of things, Microsoft is really pushing Game Pass more than anything. And that's to get people to buy the console. And it's fair. Like, that makes sense, because Microsoft has definitely been pushing Game Pass very, very hard. And it makes sense, because they realize that this is a very popular service right now. Like, it's extremely popular. Like, a lot of people really appreciate what Game Pass represents, what it stands for. And I understand why a lot of people are kind of burned about this, because they wanted the new Halo for the launch of this next generation of consoles. And it sucks, not gonna lie. This is something that I personally wasn't expecting. I was shocked that it happened, but not too shocked. And I can relate to why people feel this way, because I wanted this game with the launch of the console. This is kind of the reason why I might not buy the console day one. Like, there are many factors onto why people don't buy a console day one, whether it be because of the launch games, whether it be, all the bugs that come with the new generation of consoles day one. There's a lot of reasons why people don't buy consoles day one. There's a lot of people that do, and then there's a lot that don't. And I'm kind of torn on what I want to do, But I mainly say this also comes down to price, because I've also mentioned that price will play a big factor in this generation of consoles, because given the whole circumstances going on in the world right now, any console that hits that $600 price tag is very unlikely to do well in the current circumstance of things, even if the consoles are incredibly powerful for their price range. And yes, they are able to compete with $1,000+ PCs right now, but this is definitely a bit worrisome, concerning, because we just don't know what's going to happen. All that they told us was that Halo Infinite was going to be delayed till 2021. That's all we were told. And I personally, the way I feel about it is that, yes, I think it was a bright idea to delay the game. I do not believe the graphics were in a suitable place for a AAA launch title of the next generation of consoles, because 343 got grilled. Like, Digital Foundry went through and broke down the entire Halo Infinite gameplay reveal and pointed out all the flaws with no issue. And 343 took it to heart, and they're like, okay, we understand that there's some problems here and we need to address these. So we're going to take the constructive criticism that we have received from the community and apply these changes. And I guess a lot of those changes required more time. This is why a lot of people always refer to this, famous quote that's used for video games, is that a delayed game is better than a rush game, because a delayed game has a chance of being good, while a rush game will forever be bad. And it makes sense, because I would prefer a game to be delayed and let it be incredibly good than have it rush to market and let it forever be bad and remembered as a terrible game. This is why games like Metroid Prime 4 got delayed, because they weren't happy with the quality that they were at, so they restarted the entire project. They didn't even just delay it for a year. No, they restarted the entire development cycle, and to wait for the proper studio that handles the Metroid games to actually have access to the game. So they restarted the whole thing, and that's pretty big to restart the whole development cycle again for a game. And, you know, we put examples like Cyberpunk 2077, where that game got delayed a good amount of times and now it's out. And, well, it's going to come out and it's the most anticipated game of the year. I know a lot of people say that The Last of Us 2, another game that was heavily delayed, and granted, I still don't believe it is a good game, but I understand why a lot of people think it is amazing, because visually, yes, it is very impressive on how it looks. Visually stunning game. Amazing with what Naughty Dog was able to do with that game. I still do not think it's a good game. I still think the game has a lot of flaws. There's a lot of issues with the game that I don't even want to get into because, like I said, we're not talking about it. You know, that's not the point of this video, is to talk about. We're here to talk about Halo, not, you know, we're not here to talk about that. And for me, it kind of sucks a little bit because I wanted to play Halo day one with my friends. That's why me and my friends were going through the Halo campaigns on Legendary. And, you know, now we have more time to go through them because we thought the game was going to come out in November. Because now we know the console's in November. So that's great that Microsoft has now said that the console will be in November. Granted, we still don't know the price. But I go back to this whole point that, yes, Halo Infinite will be good once it comes out in 2021. So my opinion still stands that, yes, let's just be patient. Let's wait. Let them take in all the constructive criticism that we have given them so that we get a better game in the end. Because if this is true, that Halo Infinite is supposed to be the last Halo game for 10 years because they want Halo Infinite to last for 10 years, it makes sense that they want this game to be perfect at launch, or at least near perfect, at least like so good that, you know, it would remind people of the good old days of how Halo was considered the greatest gaming franchise of all time because of Halo 1, 2, and 3. And I hope Halo Infinite is good. That is my personal hope, because I love Halo. I love the Halo series. I played through all the Halos. We're literally going through all the campaigns on Legendary. So if you watch me stream it, you can go to my Twitch page and watch me there. But it's definitely interesting that they decided to delay it. I'm not heartbroken that it got delayed. I think it was a wise call for Microsoft to delay it. And the only thing we really can do is just be patient and see what happens. But I will also say this, that it's interesting how a lot of the community is complaining now because like, oh, great, Microsoft delayed the game. Now this console is dead. Why even buy this thing? And it's like, well, you guys were complaining that the game did not look to the standard that you guys wanted it to be for the next generation. Because yes, the game was made with the original Xbox One in mind. I still think that was a terrible idea. I personally think that was a terrible idea. The base minimum console that this game should have been ran on should have been the Xbox One X. That's it. It should have not be able to run on the original Xbox One. It should not be able to run on the One S. It needs to only be run on bare minimum the Xbox One X. That should have been the minimum. The fact that they didn't is a problem because they had to go with a more classic art style, which I agree. I like the classic art style because I think it looks better. Even though, yes, a lot of people got mad because they wanted the super photorealistic art style that we got in Halo 4 and Halo 5, even though a lot of people also hated it. So it's like the gaming community is definitely a very fickle thing. Not gonna lie, Chief. It's definitely super fickle, and I'm very baffled with how the gaming community has responded to this because a lot of people are saying, well, there's no excuses for this. Like, this game should have been done. But it's like, well, who said it should have been done? You know, like, a game needs to be like, granted, yes, it was supposed to launch with the console. And I agree. I personally, in my opinion, I personally think 343 did a smart idea and pulled the game from launch because they're like, look, it's just not ready. They were willing to put profits aside and say, hey, the game is not ready. We need more time. And I think that was a smart call. And that actually helps 343's case because it actually makes them look like a better developer because they actually want to make a good game. Because if they really wanted to, think about it, if they really wanted to, they could have pushed out the game at the state that it would have been at and be like, we got your money, who cares? But they didn't. They decided to be thoughtful, intentional, and actual good developers and say, look, the game's not ready. We're going to be honest with you guys. We need more time. and they got more time. And I think that was a very good call. And it definitely helps 343's case in the eyes of the community, because yes, I understand how, in terms of the community viewpoint, yes, 343 hasn't done the best job with Halo. They didn't do the best with the Master Chief Collection. They didn't do the best with Halo 4. They didn't do the best with, Halo 5. And granted, yes, I will be honest, now they're doing a lot of good things in terms of the Master Chief Collection, because the Master Chief Collection is now arguably a must-buy on any PC, and on the Xbox too. It's a must-buy because of how well they've definitely improved it and how they made it such a enjoyable experience that now it's not a nail in the coffin, but rather it's a good resurgence of Halo in the mainstream eye. And it's a good step forward. It puts them in good graces with the community. And I think this is actually another step of putting themselves in the good graces of the community, because they're looking out for the consumer. They're not just trying to line their pockets right now, even though, yes, they know they're going to make a ton of money when this game comes out. Let's just be honest. Halo Infinite is going to sell like hotcakes. Like Halo 5 made all its money back for its budget in less than a couple weeks. Like, yeah, there's still a huge appeal for Halo. And I personally hope that this is going to be worth it, because I know this actually benefits us as consumers more, because now we actually get to have flight testing, because there was a lot of rumors going on that there was no flight testing in place for Halo Infinite. Originally there was, yes, there was, but because of the whole COVID situation, we weren't able to get a flight testing because there just wasn't time to focus on it. And now we'll actually be able to have flighting done, which now people will be able to test the game earlier to see if there's any bugs, give them constructive criticism and feedback on how to improve the game. And overall, I just see this as a win. I don't see this as a bad thing. If the game gets now if the game is delayed and it's still bad when it comes out, or at least it's still not up to standard of what we want, then that's a whole different story. But I'd rather let the game have as much time as it can in the oven so that it at least comes out good, rather than rushing it out and we'd stuck with, an incomplete product that we'd be complaining on the internet and saying this is trash. And I'd rather we have a good product from the get-go that gets improved over time, rather than a bad product that gets improved to be good over time. I'd rather have the first situation, because that is the most optimal. That is definitely the best case scenario. And yes, I get it. A lot of people still don't trust 343 because of their track record. Like, that's fair. Like, I'm not going to dog you guys for that, because that's fair. That's reasonable. But I still think that it was a bright idea that they delayed the game. I still firmly believe that it was the right call, that this is what's best for business. And I know that sounds super weird to say it that way. Well, it's also because it's also like a wrestling thing that, but there's a reason why I always say that I prefer a game to be delayed and let it have enough time in the oven to be cooked, rather than coming out rushed and it being trash. Like, that's how I just feel about this game. I'm excited for Halo Infinite. I know the hype is going to be building once we get flight testing. The fact that we know the multiplayer is free and it's going to be at 4K 120, like, it's going to be crazy for sure. And I get it. They need more time. And I think that's a bright idea, because we need to do flighting. Flighting is very, very important for Halo. And it only makes sense that they flight this game, because they've been doing it with the Master Chief Collection, where they've been flighting every single game and making sure that they work before they push them out. So I think flighting for Halo Infinite is definitely a good call, because this makes things a whole lot better for you and me. Yes, is it okay to be upset? Absolutely. You are more than justified to be upset that the game got delayed, but I wouldn't go out of your way to say a lot of overly negative things that just aren't true, subjective things. Let's try to be objective in the situation and understand that, look, we as consumers will win in the end. That is what will happen. We are going to get the best possible product that we can get. And if not, we flame them for it. But I would reserve judgment until the day comes that this game is actually in our possession, because that's when we can make healthy, thoughtful, input. And that's just how I personally view things. You guys can let me know in the comment section down below. How do you guys feel about Halo Infinite getting delayed? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you annoyed? How do you feel? Are you excited to see how the game turns out once it's ready, like ready to go? Are you excited for flighting? How do you feel about the situation? You guys can let me know in the comment section down below if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can follow me on my social medias to let me know directly how you guys feel. And to be honest, that's all I have for you guys today, because I've definitely had some time to think about this, to let it marinate in my head, see my thoughts, and share with you guys how I felt about it. And I hope it was helpful. I hope it was insightful. I hope that I was able to provide something new to the conversation, in this sense, that you guys would walk away learning something new. But I do thank you guys for coming back. It really, really means a lot to me. You guys keep coming back. You keep downloading these episodes. You keep sharing them. And you guys just continue to be awesome. And I love you guys to death, because you guys continue to support me. You continue to just be awesome and encouraging me. You keep allowing me to have this kind of access to talk to you guys, to, just have a good time. And it helps me to relax, because I know things right now are super stressful for everybody. They're not just stressful for me. And for me, doing this show is a great way of relaxing. It's a great way of clearing what's on my mind, sharing with you what I've been paying attention to over the weeks. And it really does mean a lot to me. And I love you guys to death, because you guys are awesome. And thank you guys for everything. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I hope it was insightful. I hope it was thoughtful. I hope you know that I was being intentional with y'all and not just being fake, because, that's just not me. But I do love you guys to death. Please continue to be safe. Have a wonderful day. Please don't do anything dumb. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye, guys. Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.